Every night, without asking our permission, the soul speaks. It whispers through symbols, strange images, forgotten faces, and though we often wake confused, the dream is never meaningless. It is a message, a private letter from the unconscious, sealed with the wax of our own hidden truth. Every night, as the world sleeps, the psyche begins its own work, a work ancient, mysterious, and powerful. Dreams are not random illusions of the brain, nor mere noise of the sleeping mind. They are messages, profound expressions from the depths of the unconscious. To ignore them is to ignore the very compass that points toward inner transformation. Dreams emerge not from the surface of consciousness, but from the vast and largely uncharted territory of the unconscious mind. This region of the psyche, though hidden from our waking awareness, plays a fundamental role in shaping our behaviors, emotions, and choices. While the conscious mind is occupied with the affairs of the external world, plans, obligations, and logical reasoning, the unconscious speaks in an entirely different voice. This voice finds its most potent expression in dreams. Unlike deliberate thought, which follows the rules of logic and language, dreams communicate in images, moods, and paradoxes. They are, in essence, the direct expression of the unconscious. To understand the role of dreams in motivating change, we must first recognize that the unconscious is not merely a repository of forgotten memories or repressed desires. It is a living system teeming with intelligence and purpose. It seeks balance and integration within the psyche. When we are out of alignment, when we ignore our emotions, deny our inner needs, or suppress parts of ourselves, the unconscious reacts. And one of its primary methods of communication is the dream. In this way, the dream becomes a message, sometimes cryptic, sometimes startling, but always meaningful. Often, people dismiss dreams as random or meaningless. This misunderstanding stems from the fact that the dream does not speak the language of daylight logic. It speaks in metaphor and symbol, precisely because the contents it carries are not always acceptable or comprehensible to the conscious mind. A dream might show a person drowning not because they are in physical danger, but because emotionally they are overwhelmed. Another might dream of being chased, not by an external threat, but by some inner truth they are unwilling to face. In these cases, the dream is offering a commentary on the dreamer's psychological state. It reflects what the conscious self refuses to see. Importantly, dreams are not moralistic. They do not judge. They simply reveal. Their aim is not to criticize, but to heal. By presenting to us images from the depths of the unconscious, dreams invite us into deeper self-reflection. They ask us to consider, what am I not acknowledging? What am I avoiding? What within me seeks expression? In this sense, dreams can be a profound motivational force. They awaken within us a sense that something in our life needs attention or change. In the rhythm of dreams, we hear the inner life calling out. This call may not always be comfortable. It may require us to confront fears, challenge habits, or question long-held beliefs. But it is precisely through such discomfort that growth becomes possible. Those who attend to their dreams often find themselves gradually shifting, making decisions more aligned with their true nature, releasing old patterns and stepping into more authentic ways of being. Thus, to listen to a dream is to begin a dialogue with the unconscious. And in doing so, we begin to recover the parts of ourselves that we have lost, denied, or forgotten. In this silent, symbolic language, the unconscious speaks not to confuse, but to awaken, and ultimately to transform. Dreams do not speak in plain language. They express themselves through symbols, images drawn from the deep reservoir of the unconscious, shaped by personal experience, cultural heritage, and archetypal patterns. These symbols are not random or decorative. They are purposeful, carrying specific psychological meaning. Just as the body produces symptoms to indicate imbalance or illness, the unconscious produces symbolic images in dreams to highlight inner dynamics that require attention. This symbolic language is the native tongue of the psyche, and learning to understand it is essential for anyone seeking personal growth and self-understanding. When a person dreams of a staircase, a storm, a child, or a locked door, these are not mere representations of physical reality. Each carries a layer of significance that extends beyond the literal. A staircase may represent a transition, a shift in consciousness, or a movement between different levels of awareness. A storm could symbolize emotional turbulence or a dramatic inner conflict. A child may point to vulnerability, creativity, or some neglected aspect of the self. The meaning is not fixed, but must be interpreted in the context of the dreamer's life, emotional state, and psychological development. The symbolic nature of dreams serves a critical purpose. It protects the conscious mind from being overwhelmed. Direct exposure to unconscious material, especially that which challenges one's self-image or core beliefs, can be too intense. Symbolism softens the blow, It wraps powerful truths in metaphor, allowing the dreamer to gradually approach what might otherwise be too difficult to face. In this way, dreams act as guardians as well as guides. They do not reveal more than one is ready to understand, but they always point toward what is most essential. To decode these symbols is not to apply a universal dictionary of meanings, but to enter into a personal dialogue with the unconscious. Each person's psyche is unique, and while there are shared archetypal themes, such as the hero, the mother, the trickster, how these themes manifest in dreams will differ depending on individual circumstances. The process of interpretation requires curiosity, intuition, and honesty. It is not an intellectual exercise alone. It is a spiritual and emotional engagement with the deeper self. Symbols are transformative because they carry within them the potential to reorder our inner world. A powerful dream image can linger for days, reshaping the way we think about ourselves, others, or the path we are on. It can illuminate hidden desires, unresolved conflicts, or neglected strengths. In this way, dream symbols guide the dreamer toward insight and, ultimately, change. They make the unconscious conscious, not all at once, but step by step, in a rhythm that respects the psyche's capacity for integration. To take dreams seriously is to honor the wisdom of the inner world. It is to recognize that beneath the surface of ordinary life flows a deeper current, always moving, always speaking. By learning to read the symbolic language of dreams, we gain access to that current, and in doing so, we find direction not imposed from the outside, but emerging from within. Within every individual lies a hidden dimension of the psyche that is often ignored, feared, or denied. This is what is known as the shadow, the collection of traits, emotions, impulses, and memories that do not align with our conscious self-image. While we may identify with qualities we consider acceptable, kindness, strength, intelligence, we tend to reject those we find uncomfortable or socially unacceptable, such as anger, jealousy, selfishness, or vulnerability. These rejected parts do not disappear. They are pushed into the unconscious, where they continue to influence us in subtle, often disruptive ways. One of the most powerful arenas where the shadow makes itself known is through dreams. Dreams regularly confront us with aspects of ourselves that we would rather avoid. They might show us behaving cruelly, failing at something we pride ourselves on, or encountering strange and threatening figures. These dream scenarios are not meant to condemn or shame. Rather, They are symbolic representations of the dissound elements of the personality. The unconscious brings these elements into the dreamscape so that we might begin to see them, acknowledge them, and eventually integrate them into a fuller picture of who we are. In this way, dreams serve as messengers, offering us the opportunity to face our inner conflicts with honesty and humility. The presence of the shadow in dreams is often uncomfortable because it challenges the identity we have carefully constructed. For example, someone who sees themselves as always calm and rational might dream of lashing out in rage. Another, who prides themselves on independence, might dream of helplessness or neediness. These images are not accidental. They are invitations to recognize what has been left out of conscious awareness. Until these parts are brought into the light, they tend to express themselves indirectly through projections onto others, emotional outbursts, or recurring patterns of behavior that feel out of our control. Confronting the shadow is a necessary step on the path of psychological development. It requires courage to admit that we are not always who we believe ourselves to be. But this confrontation is not about becoming something negative. It is about becoming whole. When we integrate the shadow, we reclaim the energy that was previously tied up in repression and denial. We gain access to qualities like assertiveness, passion, and creativity that may have been buried along with the more difficult traits. The shadow, though dark, contains tremendous potential for personal growth. Dreams provide a relatively safe space in which this confrontation can occur. They reveal the tensions and contradictions within us, not to destroy, but to unify. Each unsettling image or disturbing event in a dream is a puzzle piece in the larger picture of the self. By approaching these dream elements with curiosity instead of fear, we can begin to understand the complexity of our inner life. The goal is not perfection, but integration, the ability to hold both light and dark, strength and weakness, in conscious awareness. This integration is what leads to authenticity, resilience, and genuine transformation. The human psyche is not static. It longs for growth, balance, and unity. Beneath the surface of everyday life, there is an invisible force at work within us, moving us toward the realization of our full potential. This process, though often unconscious, is central to our development as individuals. It is known as the path to wholeness or individuation. Dreams play a critical role in this journey, for they consistently present us with images, situations, and symbols that guide us toward deeper self, understanding and integration of all aspects of the self, both known and unknown. In waking life, most people tend to identify with only a portion of their personality. We adopt certain roles, values, and traits that fit within our family, culture, or profession. But beneath this conscious identity lies a vast inner world that includes forgotten memories, unrealized potentials, and parts of ourselves we have yet to acknowledge. The dream brings these hidden elements to the surface, often in dramatic or symbolic form. It is through this nightly dialogue with the unconscious that the individual is nudged, step by step, toward greater self-realization. Dreams do not aim at comfort. They aim at wholeness. They do not flatter the ego, but challenge it. A person may dream of being humiliated, not because they are inferior, but because the dream is balancing an inflated sense of pride. Another may dream of a wise old figure offering cryptic advice, not because they are being taught by someone external, but because an inner source of wisdom is trying to make itself known. In both cases, the dream compensates for the one-sidedness of the conscious mind, drawing attention to what has been neglected. Over time, this process fosters a richer, more complete sense of identity. The journey toward individuation involves the integration of opposites, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, thinking and feeling. Dreams frequently illustrate this inner dynamic by presenting symbols of duality, a battle between two figures, a divided house, or a road that splits in two directions. These images represent the psychological tensions within the individual. They are not meant to be resolved quickly, but to be understood and lived through. Through this inner dialogue, the individual begins to make peace with contradictions, allowing for a more unified and authentic self to emerge. As one continues to work with dreams, a deeper pattern often becomes visible. Certain themes, symbols, or figures may repeat over time, each appearance adding another layer of insight. These recurring elements act as guideposts, pointing the dreamer toward the deeper meaning of their existence. They are not random. They are signposts of the soul's journey. With patience and attention, the dreamer begins to see that life is not a series of disconnected events, but a meaningful path unfolding from within. Individuation is not a goal to be achieved, but a process to be lived. It is the unfolding of the self in its full complexity, and dreams are its language. Those who listen to their dreams engage in a sacred dialogue with the unconscious, allowing themselves to be shaped not by external expectations, but by the quiet wisdom of the inner world. Dreams are not passive experiences. They are active forces that stir the psyche and say, challenge the ego, and press the individual toward change. When a dream disturbs or awakens a deep emotional response, it is not by accident. The unconscious mind uses dreams as instruments of transformation, presenting situations and symbols that call attention to inner imbalances, unresolved conflicts, or neglected truths. Far from being mere reflections of daily life, dreams are often corrective in nature. They show us what must shift within ourselves or in our outer world to align more closely with our authentic path. One of the most striking features of dreams is their ability to bypass our conscious defenses. In waking life, the ego is constantly at work, filtering experiences, rationalizing emotions, and maintaining control. But in the dream state, these defenses weaken. The unconscious takes the opportunity to communicate more freely, often highlighting uncomfortable truths. A person stuck in a toxic relationship may dream of suffocation or entrapment. Someone avoiding a difficult decision may dream of being lost or endlessly searching for a destination. These are not random occurrences. They are psychological messages demanding attention and, ultimately, action. What makes dreams powerful motivators of change is their emotional intensity. A dream might be strange or symbolic, but the feelings it evokes, fear, awe, confusion, or grief or joy, are very real. These emotions linger, sometimes for hours or days, acting as catalysts for introspection. When the dream experience is vivid enough, say, it can disrupt habitual patterns of thought or behavior. The person begins to ask new questions. Why did I feel that way? What does this image mean? What is my inner life trying to show me? These questions are the seeds of transformation. Not all change provoked by dreams is dramatic. Sometimes, the dream presents a subtle nudge, a quiet suggestion rather than a loud demand. A recurring dream figure might gently point to a forgotten talent or buried interest. A peaceful landscape might evoke a longing for a simpler, more meaningful life. Over time, these small suggestions accumulate and say, guiding the individual toward choices that reflect a deeper alignment with the self. In this sense, dreams become inner advisors and say, a constantly working behind the scenes to promote growth and self-correction. It is important to remember that the dream does not offer ready-made solutions. It reveals. It provokes, but it does not dictate. The dreamer must still do the work of interpretation and integration. However, the more one listens to dreams, the more attuned one becomes to the rhythms of the unconscious. This inner relationship strengthens, and the motivation to change arises not from external pressure, but from internal necessity. Dreams awaken the sleeper not just from physical rest, but from psychological inertia. They illuminate paths not yet taken, reveal truths long buried, and stir the soul toward greater honesty and purpose. When taken seriously, a single dream can alter the course of a life, not by command, but by invitation. In this way, dreams are not just reflections of who we are, but gentle, persistent calls toward who we are meant to become. As we have seen, dreams are far more than fleeting illusions of the night. They are the intimate language of the unconscious, complex, symbolic, and deeply personal. They confront us with our forgotten truths, expose our inner tensions, and gently push us toward healing, growth, and integration. They illuminate the parts of ourselves we have yet to meet, and they whisper of a greater wholeness that lies just beyond the boundary of our waking mind. To engage with dreams is to take responsibility for the unseen forces within us. It is to accept that real transformation comes not from fixing the outside world alone, but from understanding and reconciling the inner one. When we listen to our dreams, we do not become someone new. We become more truly ourselves. This is the essence of self-discovering, not an escape from who we are, but a return to the depths we have forgotten. So, tonight, and every night that follows, do not dismiss your dreams. Welcome them, write them down. Sit with their symbols. Let them challenge you, surprise you, even unsettle you. For within each dream lies a doorway, not to fantasy, but to truth. And it is through that doorway that the real journey of becoming begins.